Welcome to Movies, Films, and Flicks. I am Mark Hoffmeyer, and joining me is a man that is using 110% of his brain. It's Phil Briggs.
Hey, what's going on, man? Thanks for having me back on. I'm glad we're wearing our matching tanned jackets in tribute to the man in the tan jacket, my favorite character in the movie.
And we're both standing on the ledge of a very expensive loft. So
yeah, the fortress. Yeah. We're ready to rock here. Let's go.
Oh, man. So 110% of your brain. Are you on, like, NZT squared? Like, how did you get that extra 10%? Did you how did you do that?
Yeah, it's you know what? I just had it in the back of my suit jacket, right? My fancy tan jacket. And, I don't know. I think Bradley Cooper, by the end, he'd figured out how to get to the NZT squared for sure.
Now, all right, this is really random, but since I'm talking about going up to 110%, like you go turn it up to 11, why don't you make 10 louder?
Yeah. Yeah.
As a drummer, how do you feel about Spinal Tap? You've seen Spinal Tap?
I own Spinal Tap. I've seen Spinal Tap many times. Every time I play drums, I'm worried about spontaneously combusting. It's a real fear, man, that us drummers live with every day. Got to carry that around with us.
Is it in the back? Like, seriously though, is it like in the back of your mind sometimes? Do you ever just playing and you laugh and you're not gonna like combust or choke on like a gardening accident or something? But like, do you ever laugh while playing drums, or are you just too focused on playing the drums?
Yeah, it's one of those things where our mutual friend Adam says I play drums like an accountant, where I'm really like thinking through the beats and the timing and making sure that everything is together. So it's one of those things. If I was going to spontaneously combust, it really would be spontaneous. I wouldn't see it coming at all.
All right, real quick. So we had a Never Back Down episode, which I really enjoyed, and they have Taking Back Sunday on that. Do you ever play some Taking Back Sunday jams while drumming?
Yeah, so that genre, and I know that we were both talking about too how we were digging on like Rise Against a fair bit as well, and so
Rise Against, Rise Against,
yeah. So definitely that's my go-to. Like I have my wife a few years ago, like I've been playing drums for probably 25 years or so, and went for a long period of time with no drum kit at home, just sold the drums before getting married and starting the family. But my Father's Day gift a few years ago was my wife bought me a drum kit so that I could play in the basement again. So yeah, I definitely throw the headphones on there and rock out to some, the music that I listened to in high school that you just never get away from, even though you're a full grown adult male now.
You're blaring Rise Against while driving through the suburbs in your truck.
Yeah, pretty much.
Swing life away, but you're in like a nice Ford F-150.
Yeah, exactly. You're really rebelling against the man as on your way to your career job, slaving away for the man.
Well, okay. So I'm so glad you suggested Limitless to me, because I had watched this movie once in 2011. And the thing that always intrigued me the most about Limitless 2011, directed by Neil Burger, The Illusionist. I love The Illusionist. Very good movie. What I like about Burger is that they took $30 million for this movie. This is a $30 million budgeted movie. They were originally supposed to have Shia LaBeouf, but he had to back out. Yeah. So they ended up with Bradley Cooper. And they actually got really lucky, because when this movie came out, he was hot off of Hangover. Yep. So you have this $30 million movie, original IP. And the commercials, if you remember, are really quite great. Like, you can only use 10% of your brain. But now you can use 100%. Really a great marketing campaign. Bradley Cooper was like just hot at the moment. It's a really stylish movie with like, when he's not on the pill, it's very gray and drab and the camera corners him. When he's on the drug, it's bright and he moves the camera flow. Yeah. And this movie, this $30 million film, got released. I don't think the expectations. I read a lot of articles about this, which I thought were really interesting, how everyone was surprised about how well it did. They're like, oh yeah, we were probably thinking it was going to do like a $12 million opening. It ended up with a B cinema score. It had 53% women attended the opening weekend. Wow. The Bradley Cooper effect.
The Bradley Cooper effect, for sure.
And it had like 43% Caucasian, 57% non-Caucasian. So it had all like groups of people were going to go see it. And this movie opened big, and it kept making money, and it ended up making $180 million worldwide. Ooh. And that's a lot for an original IP. That's not, at the time, we were in the time of superhero movies. We were in the time of that. But then you have this weird outlier, like Never Back Down. It's just a random $25 million like movie that you don't know where it was coming from. but with a good cast. And then you have this movie, and it just really became this word of mouth success. And it ended up making about 70 million in the States, and its opening weekend was 18. That means word of mouth stayed, like, it didn't drop off 70% the next weekend. This just kept building, and it stayed alive in the theaters with some pretty big competition against it. So I just like movies like this where they just stay alive in theaters. They have a B+ cinema score, and they hit above their weights. And I'm not trying to mean that as an insult. Yeah. It's just I miss $30 million movies like this.
Yeah, you and I were lamenting this a while ago. I don't know whether it was online or offline, but we were sort of talking about, the $30 to $40 million, action flick or
12 rounds. The episode we did.
Exactly right. That's a perfect example. And these kinds of movies just don't get made anymore. Did you see the interview with Matt Damon on the Chicken Wing Show on Hot Ones?
No.
So he was talking, it was a really interesting interview where he was sort of saying that this might potentially be due to like the Netflix and streaming effect, that basically, while before you would have had the 20, 30, $40 million flick that, maybe does okay in theaters, but then has the second economic life on DVD and that sort of thing. And that because that basically doesn't exist anymore, a lot of films like this, like a 12 Rounds or a Never Back Down, are, they kind of get lost in the straight to Netflix, shuffle, and they're maybe made for, 8 million or something like that. And they're just hoping to be profitable. It seems to be it's either that or, $200 million Marvel movie that is, going to have 4 sequels and really be an investment from the studio. So I'm with you. This, I think, is one of the 2011 this came out. It's sort of one of the last, films like that where it's that $40 million film that kind of catches fire and, really punches above its weight for sure.
And at the end, it's a, what's interesting too, I was reading this article, so I can't say that I'm, I think it was by Polygon who wrote this, and they wrote this really interesting quote about it where when you think about Sherlock is so smart that Sherlock cannot be in public. Sherlock is horrible with people. Sherlock is rude. These hyper smart people in cinema. I mean, Big Bang Theory, Lucy. You get these super smart characters who just can't deal with people. They're just too smart, and so they just have no skills whatsoever to chat with people. Here's a movie where a guy becomes 100% of his brain, and he doesn't become this like weirdo loner clipped person. He just becomes more awesome. It's an interesting dynamic, right? Because I would hate to be at a dinner. I just gotta say it right now. Eddie Morra, I would not want to be at a dinner party with him.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Like, those scenes where he's 100% and he's like, you don't understand. The stock market hits this wave and then the wave crashes. But you can't see that. And some guy's like, well, what about, Johnson filters? Oh, Johnson filters are ridiculous if you're going to do this. Well, what about, like, Schmitzky lessons? Well, Schmitzky lessons, what, it was 1783? Like, it's... Yeah. I couldn't eat dinner with Morra. But I guess what I'm saying is he's super social, right? He doesn't want to take over the world. He just wants to make money, get through this deal, get some change in his pocket, and eventually, he wants to run for Senate and all that. But he's not going to take over the world. He's not going to create missiles or anything. I think he just wants to have this power. But it's not. He doesn't become he doesn't become like Lucy and melt into something. He becomes really sort of social and like a regular person. But
he becomes social in this sense. You are definitely right that the montage where he's, on 100% using 110% of his brain is really him monologuing with like crowds gathered around him as he, explains how the world works or whatever else. And sort of he says at one point, like, if I'm not moving forward, like I started to go a little bit stir crazy. So definitely he'd probably be a bit of a tough guy to be friends with. But you are right. In some ways he does become more social. He learns, like, he doesn't just grow in terms of his ability to know facts and spot patterns and that sort of thing, but maybe he becomes more socially intelligent as well. Yeah, it's an interesting point for sure.
Because we're so used to whenever people become hyper intelligent, they become a dork, or they become antisocial or hard to deal with, or the difficult person. He definitely does Bradley splain. NZT splain things a lot, but what's interesting too is I got thinking about this movie, and so I love that it hit above its weight. I love that he doesn't become who you think he becomes on this NZT. But what lesson does Eddie Morra learn in this movie?
Mm-hmm.
What, like, we don't need characters to change, but in the beginning he's a former addict, right?
Mm-hmm.
Failed novelist. He can't concentrate. He's been the costume designer said he probably hasn't bought a shirt in 10 years. He's just really repressed into drinking and just trying to sort of get by, and he's regressing. But then he takes these pills and he becomes super awesome. And the rest of the movie is him remaining super awesome. So like, what is he like? But it ends on such a cool note, and it's so well shot. And it's very like in your face and fast and flowing. But this is a story about a guy, a former addict who takes drugs to get smarter, and then needs to keep doing those drugs, and then finds out a better way to do those drugs. And presumably at the end he's still on the drugs, but he's probably injecting it now and make it last longer and more natural.
He's figured something out. Yeah.
But that's and then you have De Niro who worked his way up, right?
Well, and that's sorry to interrupt. That's really to me. So in terms of the lesson that he learned, like I really do think that scene with De Niro, that like I'm not sure that Eddie learns a valuable lesson necessarily. I think he takes a little bit of a shortcut and maybe doesn't have the same kind of appreciation for Van Loon, for Robert De Niro, where De Niro says to him, you basically haven't done the things that I've done. You haven't had to put the time in the way that I've had to put it in. And so to a certain degree, I think, De Niro is sort of saying to us, the audience, that this isn't maybe a guy that we should be rooting for, that he's sort of taken a shortcut, and that maybe in the end, it's not going, like the results are not going to be what he's hoping, that there are lessons to be learned from, putting in the time, putting in the work, paying your dues, not taking the shortcut. I don't know. That was kind of, cause like, I think for me, like the big sort of philosophical question coming out of this movie was like, if NZT was a real thing and we knew what the health, side effects were going to be, or we would some way to mitigate that, which Eddie obviously ends up figuring out in the end. Like, would that be something that we would even want? You know what I mean?
Because he wasn't happy with himself when he started taking it. And remember when Abbie Cornish, his girlfriend, took it, she said, I did things I would not do. That was not me. So I became not me. Yes, I did a sweet gag with ice skates, and she really did those stunts. She dropped down from that platform and ran across the ice.
Ran in those heels or whatever she was wearing?
The director, Neil Berger, was like, she's legit. He said that she had a real, she was great with the stunts, but she didn't want to do it anymore because that wasn't her. But I think Eddie Morra was happy to not be him. So then that drug, I mean, he drank blood he became a vampire. To get that drug back in him so he could what's interesting too is, so he was a former addict. Remember the flashbacks? Yeah. So he meets up with his old friend, he gets those drugs, and he immediately goes back into that habit with your old dealer. Pick up breakfast, pick up your stuff. He gets into that pattern again, and then he just falls right back into it. So, and then he just learns how to deal with it better. But you know what? When I first watched this the first time, when I watched it for the first time, I didn't think about this at all. I just thought that the cinematographer Joe Willems was a music video cinematographer, and you can see a lot of that in this movie. Yeah. And then this guy started working with Francis Lawrence, who did the Hunger Games movies. He started working for David Slade on Hard Candy and 30 Days of Night. This is a guy who started off in music videos, and like the look of this is so good with the color grading, and when he's high, it's magic hour and it's bright and dull, and it's really visually interesting to look at. Bradley Cooper was like super hot at the time, like hot popular, so he really showed all of his charisma in this role. You got De Niro in there. I mean, I remember walking out and going, that was really cool. Like, there was no bummer. The book. Do you know the book? Do you know how the book ends?
No, I don't. I've never read the book. The Dark Fields.
Yeah. Right? Yeah. This dude gets super smart. Then he tries to blackmail the company to get more drugs. He fails. But then he learns that he's been a guinea pig in a trial the entire time. And so he starts fading, has all the ill side effects, and is just dying. Goes to a cabin, writes his memoirs, turns on a TV and sees that the president loaded up on NZT is about to go attack Mexico to get all the drugs, to get more NZT, and then the dude dies. So it's a guy who gets this super drug, becomes super dependent on it, and it's kind of like a real drug story. And it's very bleak and nihilistic.
Yeah.
This is not that. But audiences, I guess we don't need that all. Like, we've already had Requiem for a Dream, Phil. I don't know if you've seen that movie. That will punch you.
I'm not. I'm aware of some of the goings on in that movie. Yeah.
We don't need another one of those. So I like the way this movie is, but it's just quite interesting. It's about like a former addict who becomes dependent on drugs again and becomes super awesome. But it's fun. It's a really. That's how good Berger is. That's how good Cooper is. That's when you know you've been. Like, this is 10 years later that I'm thinking about all this and just now realizing it. And so that's why I like this movie, because I went, wait a second, is this good? But we don't need it to be good. I mean, anti-heroes are fine, but I just think it's interesting the way everything's portrayed in it.
Yeah, I'm with you. And there's a degree to which I think in all of us, right, we like to see somebody be their best self and tap into their potential. At one point, Vern, the drug dealer says, point. This only works if you're already smart, or it works better if you're already smart, right? And so there's, and earlier in their conversation, Bradley Cooper, Abbie Cornish says, I'm your bank, I'm, your girlfriend or whatever. He says, well, you're more than just that. And he drops some very eloquent, descriptive words. And so you get the sense that this is a guy who has potential and has intelligence, but for whatever reason just can't get out of his own way. And so I do think that, as the audience, we like to see somebody at their best. We like to see somebody fulfilling their potential and have success. Each one of us imagines ourselves, as our best self and fulfilling our potential. And so I think it taps into that a little bit. But yeah, it's maybe not the cautionary tale of if you do this with some type of crazy drug that's going to give you, major health problems, that maybe it's not worth it. I think we kind of come away going, if I could get myself some of that NZT, that'd be pretty sweet.
I just got to inject it. I got to be like the gangster, the Russian gangster, Kennedy, and just learn how to. I like how he was smarter in regards to that aspect than Morra ever was. He learned how to synthesize it and make it last longer. He's like, you don't deserve this. That was really, it's cool. You know what I like most about this drug in this story is each person who's been on it handles it differently. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of cool because we're all different. So you take it and you use it for nefarious means. You use it for this. You think about doing it. It's really neat how, and listen, people would be killing each other for this drug. I'm sorry. Yeah. I'm not into conspiracy theories, but if this drug existed, Phil, and powerful people could get it, there would be people in gray coats murdering people in parks for this. Because it's, so I like that the intrigue gets involved. I like the various people dealing with it, but it's just, but you make a great point too. We like to see the best of people. I mean, look at Captain America.
Yep.
Look at the Rocky movies. He always has to train to become the best.
Yep.
Look at almost every sports movie that we've watched. We watch them train to be the best. Mm-hmm. It's just this one, he takes a wild shortcut and gets there. But audiences loved it because I think most people didn't walk out of this movie going, I'm going to go pump some Adderall. Like, they didn't think that. I think we were able to enjoy it as sci-fi. But once again, I think it's just the credit of the movie because I never thought about that. I just walked out and went, this was entertaining. That was pretty good.
Yeah, it's a cool shot. It's a cool, fun movie. Stylish movie. And I think I saw it in theaters back in 2011 and, probably came out going, yeah, it'd be cool. I should probably, work out some more, or I should, learn more about the stock market and, or whatever. Yeah. How can I be the guy at the cocktail party that's, Cooper monologuing, Cooper-splaining, everything. I don't know. There's something there where it's cool to see somebody fulfill their potential.
Absolutely. And I mean, the costumes are all good. The suits are cool. The great, like the lady who did the costumes, Jenny Gehring. I mean, she's worked with Scorsese. She was on, like, she did the Berger film, The Lucky Ones. She had done like just big movies that had happened before. So I think the costuming is good.
Yep.
Like they get you move, like there's fancy cars in it. They got two
Yeah.
of those cars and they're jumping off cliffs. It's kind of funny when he jumps off the cliff and it's just broad daylight. Then when he gets in the water and he comes out, it's magic hour.
Yeah,
I get it,
yeah.
because that's what looks best. That's, I've always been able to ignore that in films. So in Dark Knight, everyone complains that when they drive into the tunnel, it's like daylight.
Okay.
And then when they come out of it, it's dark. I'm like, whatever. Gotham has weird cycles.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. It's I don't know. People were complaining about that, but I'd rather look at a shot during magic hour than not. So I was happy with that. And just when he first gets on the drug, I think I guess he also does a good job, Bradley Cooper, of just sort of playing the down and out in the beginning, because I guess he's not like super entitled, right? He's not. If this was about an entitled dude who became super awesome, people wouldn't like it. So there's something about Cooper where he's just down and out enough, and for us to believe it, that he can do this transformation quick and we don't hate him immediately. Because I never felt any dislike for the character. But imagine if this was Cam Gigante from Never Back Down getting this drug.
Right. Yeah.
What's the point of this movie? So I think that's also good enough. Like, that he can't write. You watch the patterns about it, and me, I've done a lot of time as a writer and just not like written. Like I've tried. Mark, you got to write, but then I end up like throwing a ball at the wall for a half hour.
Right.
So you see that moment. You see him get dumped. You see his ex-bro-in-law, who was a drug dealer, doing great. He's not.
It's one of my favorite lines in the film when he runs into his ex-bro-in-law on the street, and Vern says to him, "Do I look like I'm still dealing?" Absolutely, Vern looks like he is still dealing drugs.
Yes.
But Bradley Cooper says no. But he definitely, I don't know, that part always cracks me up. It just cracks me up.
And he falls into that. Like, he was talking about how he used to vomit and steal, like when he was a junkie.
And
he falls back into that so easily. And I think that's another reason why you're able to buy into the character a little bit, that it's not Cam Gigante from Never Back Down becoming awesome. It's this guy who has a sordid past becoming awesome. And I think one of the best touches, too, is, he meets the landlord's girlfriend. He actually helps her write the paper. That's a good touch. Like, he woos her, but they write the paper. Like, that's interesting. And then when he comes back into his apartment, he cleans it. Like, normally in these movies, when you become super awesome, you don't have a cleaning montage of your home. I think there's little touches like that keep it human. And that's why people really stayed on board with it.
You're rooting for him, and that's where, again, I think when we're talking about the sort of the story arc overall, where it doesn't necessarily feel like a cautionary tale, because whatever it is, Bradley Cooper has this quality where you're rooting for the guy. He's down and out on his luck. You feel that sympathy for him, and then when he gets himself together, whether it's through his own willpower or through taking a shortcut, you want to see him succeed, and even in the end, where it sort of ends with the fact that he did succeed, you kind of feel good about that. Like, you're sort of happy for the guy. So I'm with you. It's interesting.
He defeats the billionaires, I guess. He comes up and defeats it. But that's interesting, right? But I do think that speech that De Niro gives him about how I see you out there and you're cocky, like you haven't earned it. But then he still defeats De Niro, which you know what, though? I guess if you are tired of like the billionaires and the a lot of people are never going to get even in this door that he's in. This guy gets in the door, and then a lot of higher powers want him out, but he still succeeds and defeats them in the end. So maybe there is a catharsis of this dude. Yes, he did take shortcuts, but he got his seat at the table, figured out how to keep it, and defeated the billionaires who would normally just push people out. So I guess there is that, not Robin Hood, because I don't think he's Robin Hood anybody. Yeah. But he's definitely, he kept his seat at the table. And
he's shaking up the establishment.
Yeah.
Right? He's shaking up the establishment.
And that's a different narrative, too. There's a lot of neat stuff in this movie that we're just not used to as viewers. The guy becomes super awesome, and he doesn't become totally introverted. He doesn't become a complete jerk. When he, with his girlfriend, he definitely lies to her, but then once she realizes what he's about, he never becomes that jerk that becomes too cool for people. Does that make sense? Like, he just wants her back. you know those movies where people become popular and then they blow off their friends, and then you got to have that third act thing where like, oh, like you don't really have that in this, and so they avoid that. They avoid. I mean, and you know what's interesting too is I watched the director's cut of it because that's what had the commentary on it, and it goes very bloody. I mean, he drinks blood. He murders people. It's quite a violent. A guy gets stabbed in his eye and can't see anymore and murders people. It goes to quite a hellish landscape. But then he's like, yeah, an ex-arm dealer owned it, and then they just figured that. And I'm like, oh.
Yeah.
But I guess it's fun. You don't need that investigation there. And you know what, too? Like, he hires a slimy lawyer to get him out of... Yeah. Not a slimy, a really good lawyer to get him out of that lineup. And then that lawyer works for somebody else. And so I think you learn a lot about the system in this movie. He still keeps his place. And then it's still quite interesting. I guess I like that in that regards. But there's just so many things that you keep thinking are going to happen. If he ended up dead in some hotel room in Oregon, people wouldn't have loved this movie.
Yeah.
I guess, you know, like people don't need to see him go full Scarface and get wiped out.
Right.
So I guess you're able to walk out of this movie with a smile on your face, and that's the B+ cinema score. That's the word of mouth. It was like the ending of Get Out. Originally, I don't know, the character gets arrested, but then they reshot something else and made it a much more crowd-pleasing ending.
Okay.
Got nominated for Best Picture, made hundreds of millions of dollars. Like, I think they just sent audiences out on a NZT high for Limitless, and then it carried on.
Yeah.
And maybe we're going in circles here, but that's what I love about this movie, though. That's why I like examining sometimes why a movie hit, right? Why it succeeded, or why it became a cult classic. And sometimes it's release date, sometimes it's different, but like, what do you think led this movie to being a success?
Yeah, I think it's some of the elements that we touched on. I think definitely, you know, they caught Bradley Cooper, you know, and his sort of star power, you know, in and around this time. I was sort of looking through the IMDb, like his run from Hangover to, you know, 2015, 2016 American Sniper. I really love The Place Beyond the Pines. Did you ever see that movie?
That's a good one. I love that movie.
Man, that movie was awesome. So, you know, I think that's a big part of it. Obviously, you've got the De Niro factor, and that was something that I was going to ask you about was De Niro's, you know, role in this, because you know, I'd be interested in your perspective. I feel like late career Robert De Niro, you know, is sort of a controversial figure to a certain degree, in that you have, you know, this guy that is celebrated as, you know, perhaps the finest actor we've ever had, or at least up there in the conversation. Really sort of the latter, you know, half of his career has been interesting, to say the least. He's made some pretty crazy choices, and I feel like that this is one where late stage De Niro, you know, this is a hit, and I really like him in this role. Like, you sort of worry that he's like one of those athletes that like is destroying his leg. He's Jerry Rice on the Raiders, or like, to use an MMA analogy, like, is he, you know, BJ Penn, like, you know,
Diego Sanchez.
Diego Sanchez, 10 losses in a row for BJ Penn. I wonder, your perspective on that, like kind of late career De Niro, and this seems like a good spot for him here.
Yeah, I mean, he admitted he did an interview with this movie. He's like, listen, this was not the most challenging film, but he said, I wanted to work with Neil Berger and I wanted to work with Bradley Cooper, and I enjoyed doing it. So I think he showed up, and this was like a paycheck role, but it was a well-written paycheck role for him. Like, he could have done this in his sleep, but I think what makes this role work for him, if you just look at Bradley Cooper as the young hotshot actor, if you just made this about act, and he takes NZT and becomes the world's best actor, like, blah, you know, everyone's like, oh man, this guy's gonna win an Oscar. And so if you take it like that, and then you have De Niro in there, who, I mean, look at his work on Taxi Driver, look at his work on you know, Mean Streets, Raging Bull. This is the guy that like drove himself, and on Raging Bull, like, he got so out of shape and fat, like, he had heart issues, and then he was ripped. So he earned it. He earned his place at this table. He is this character in this movie. So this role of his fits, and it works. I also think he probably wanted to hand the baton off maybe a little bit to Bradley Cooper. He loves Bradley Cooper. They worked together on Silver Linings Playbook. And I think that's one of the warmest, if you watch that, his performance, De Niro's performance, that is warm, it's strong. And I guess a lot of people dog on Nicolas Cage.
Okay. Yeah.
And yes, he does do a lot of B movie direct. But during this time, he has done Joe, which is a David Gordon Green film. He did a movie called Mandy, which I can't recommend to everybody. It's brutal, it's bloody, but I think it's a work of art. I think it's a legitimate tour de force, beautiful film, and he's amazing in it. He was in The Color Out of Space, which I think was excellent. He was in Kick-Ass, which I think was really good.
Yeah,
he
so
recently
good.
did work in a movie called Pig, which I think is one of my top 5 of 2021 so far. He's in Willy's Wonderland, which I think is a very inspiring performance. Cool. I just think you get with a director like Cage gets with directors who respect him and know his talent. They don't try to exploit him, and so then he's excellent in those movies. But then you get De Niro in certain films with like a director who's maybe untested, and I think that's when his performances, that's when they seem lazy or they seem too over the top. I just think this movie had a good director, good star, and that's why De Niro's good. He recently made a movie called Pig, which I think is one of 2021's best movies. Willy's Wonderland. He gets with good directors who don't try to exploit him, and he's collaborative with him, and he puts out like Pig. I was watching this with Megan, and I remember looking at her going, if he's not nominated for this performance, I don't know what's nominated, because Cage is beautiful in it. And I think this film, De Niro, Silver Linings Playbook, he can still put out really good roles. I just watched a movie with him with Morgan Freeman and Tommy Lee Jones. I forgot the name of it. They like pushed it. It was supposed to be in theaters. Then they sent me an email. I forget the name because it just wasn't that good. But I think you just got to know how to harness De Niro. You got to know how to harness, so Bruce Willis lately too. But Bruce Willis, if you look at him in Looper, Bruce Willis, if you look at him in Moonrise Kingdom, he exhibits a lot of warmth and he's very good. Yeah. I just think it's directors know how to use them, and I think Neil Burger is one of those directors. So this wasn't the hardest role by any means for De Niro, but it fit him as a person, as an actor, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's a great shout to Silver Linings Playbook. I just looked. He actually got nominated for Best Supporting Actor for that.
He's so good, and he's warm, and he's... I remember watching that movie, and I get these weird feelings sometimes. I'm like, man, he's really good. He's going to get nominated. I just had a feeling. And then he was. Everybody in that movie was nominated. But he just exhibited so much warmth. So he's still there. I think he's still an amazing actor. I just think it's up to the person that directs him, the script. Maybe that's what interests him. And that's when you get those performances. Because if you look at his best performances, those were like Goodfellas, and that was like the height of Martin Scorsese. That was the 70s. Like when he made those movies, the 70s, when there were some wild movies being made back then. You had this artistic freedom back then. So now, he understood the role. He liked everybody in it, so he turned up. And
I think he nailed it. I think Silver Linings Playbook too is a great Bradley Cooper performance as well. Like I think again we're sort of talking about this film Limitless is him sort of come out as a superstar. Obviously carried this blockbuster film. I think like Silver Linings Playbook, he really shows he's got some acting chops too. Like he's not just a bankable Hollywood star, but the guy can really act.
And then he turned it out like American Sniper. Then he turned out A Star Is Born. Now he can direct. Yeah. So I think he's always wanted to be that person. But if we look at Colin Farrell, when he came out, he hit big with Tigerland. And then they wanted to put him in. And listen, I enjoy SWAT. I'm not going to bag on it. But they put him in SWAT. They put him in Daredevil. They put him in
Phone Booth. I really love Phone Booth.
Yeah, they put him in Phone Booth. And then eventually I think he had enough, and he did In Bruges, then he did Seven Psychopaths, and then he did recently The Lobster, The Killing of a Sacred Deer. He's really embraced his character actor.
He's good in The Gentleman.
Style. Yeah, oh man, I love The Gentleman.
Love
oh
my gosh. Yeah.
McConaughey is everyone's amazing in that movie.
Yeah.
Charlie Hunnam is amazing. I don't care about hyperbole. I love that movie. But I just think these actors, McConaughey too, they try to sort of put him in a box.
Yeah.
And so I think these actors like Bradley Cooper, he kind of fell into that for a little while, but then he got out of it and he pursued work that really challenged him. And if you think about Silver Linings Playbook, the director is really tough with actors. That director had like blowouts with George Clooney, and he's very demanding. And then he went and did American Sniper with Clint Eastwood. Clint Eastwood, you do 1 or 2 takes, and then you move on.
You're done. Yeah.
So as an actor, you want to do that. Like that's right. Like that's I don't know. That's cool. I'm gonna go do a Clint Eastwood picture. It's gonna shoot for 14 days, and I get one take. So I think he pursued really interesting work, and I think the movies like this helped him break out of that kind of role. So I think Hangover gave him power, and then he was able to really do a great job from that. Hey, so how about this real quick? Let's take a quick break, and when we come back, we will talk more Limitless. We will be right back. Welcome back to Movies, Films, and Flicks. And you know what's pretty cool about the weekend that Limitless was released? So it was released in March, which isn't the hottest time to be released. You know, you think about January, February, March, not summer season,
right?
Not like the hot time to be released. But there were some pretty cool movies that were released this weekend. So Limitless opened at number 1 at about 18.9 million. Number 2 was Rango. Number 3 was Battle Los Angeles. Number 4 that was just open was The Lincoln Lawyer, which I love. I don't know if you've watched it, but
I have.
I wrote a post for Rotten Tomatoes about it. I wrote about the reconnaissance and how this led into it, and I just read his book too, and I read the oral history of Dazed and Confused too. That was awesome.
You just read McConaughey's book?
Yeah.
I just read it a couple months ago as well.
Green lights,
hilarious. Man. Yeah.
All right.
Green lights.
Yeah,
all right.
Yeah.
Just catching those green lights.
Livin. But yeah, so you have, but I love Lincoln Lawyer, but you both have, like, that was a success too. That was a sleeper hit.
Yeah.
And that movie was gritty, and like the way they shot it was very fly on the wall, and it was very different. And you have this interesting weekend where both these movies come out. But this is what's really interesting. Limitless at its first weekend was 18.9. In its second weekend, because I do the research on a podcast called Rotten Tomatoes is Wrong. Okay. And every week I always include a breakdown of the box office for the movie they're talking about. So every weekend I get to see second weekend how much it drops, third weekend how much it drops. Limitless, so it opened up in third, behind Diary of a Wimpy Kid and Sucker Punch. Actually, Sucker Punch I went to go watch in the theater, but then I got a call halfway through. Abbie Cornish was in that too. She was crushing it this time.
Oh, there you go.
But then I got a call to go do a Rolex commercial in Augusta, Georgia, at the major golf course out there.
Right.
So I had to leave and like pack up stuff. I was like, Megan, I gotta go. So then I had
to
drive out.
They needed a wrist model.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I had to drive out there to go do that. So I always remember that weekend. But you had Limitless, which did 15 million. That's a 20% drop. That's a nothing drop. Right. Now, obviously, when movies open at like 200 million, they're going to have a 50% drop. But that's still a really good hold. 19 to 15. Normally you have like, sorry if you know all this, Phil, but like normally it's like 19 to 11 or 9. So this hold was 15 million's a good hold. Lincoln Lawyer did 10 million. So it only dropped 18%. So both people,
wow.
Like, I like seeing movies that hang around on the charts. And then the third weekend, it had a slight dip, but still, like, these both movies only dropped like 2 million each. So, like, Limitless was around 10 million, Lincoln Lawyer was around 7. So they both were like hanging around the theaters. And I love that. Like, as all these new movies were coming in, like Sucker Punch in its second weekend made less than Limitless and Lincoln Lawyer in their third weekends. So, like, Paul that was released was already, like, lost a lot of money. Like, was already at number 9. These movies were still hanging in there. So I just like how you could tell that there was audiences for them. And what else I like about Limitless, too, is, and I'm not saying it's like and next weekend, actually, they both made a lot of money, too, like 5 million each. That's a good hold. But they were very, like, and there's 4 movies opened ahead of them. Sorry. That's rare. It's a good hold. But they're for, like, adults. Like, I'm not talking about, like,
right.
Like, it's not like a children's film. It's not like a superhero film. It's not like a Schwarzenegger R-rated action picture.
Right.
These are, like, movies for, like adults would, like, a 30-year-old would go watch Limitless and be like, that was awesome. Mm-hmm. Does that make sense? Like, a 30-year-old go watch Lincoln Lawyer. That was awesome. Like, it's a $30 million budget film that was meant for, but, like, teenagers could watch Limitless and think it's badass.
Yeah.
Like, but then 20-year-olds could watch it, think it's cool. 30-year-olds could watch it, think it's cool. Like, 50-year-olds could watch it, think it's cool. It's a good all 4-quadrant movie, I think. And a lot of, like I told you, like, it was 50% women going to it, 50% men.
Yeah.
So
broad appeal.
Yeah, 4-quadrant movie. Like National Treasure, they called it a 4-quadrant movie. And I think that is the same for this picture. But I know I just went through a long box office talk about it, but I think that's what kept it. My whole point is so many people wanted to go see it, and not your typical audience. Like, they just word of mouth kept it going, and like I said, just adults wanted to go see this. Like, it looked like a cool, like, how old was I? 29-year-old Mark went and watched this, and I was like, this is awesome.
Right. Yeah. Well, and like you're saying, not part of a franchise, original IP, one and done. I mean, obviously now I know there's a TV show that has spawned out of this. Have you seen the TV show?
I know it did one season, was canceled, but
okay.
I remember like Bradley Cooper showed up in it, but I don't know if I want that show.
Yeah.
Because it's basically like Chuck, which I love. Did you ever watch Chuck?
We started Chuck. I should go back and revisit that. I feel like we got a couple episodes in and never and kind of abandoned it. Maybe probably too early.
Yeah, I love it, but they kept trying to cancel it, so they never knew if they were going to have like a second, third, fourth season. So it stayed around. It stayed around. It stayed around like 5 seasons, but they're like, we don't know if you're going to be back next.
Right.
So then they never knew what to do the following year.
Yeah.
Like so then they couldn't have like a totally cohesive plan. But I just liked everybody in it. But what was I talking about? He goes full Chuck.
Yeah.
And it's just, I don't know. I just don't want to watch some cocky senator just doing drugs and being better than everybody for 5 years. That's a movie I want to watch. Yeah. Does that make sense? Like
for sure.
Like, I got to keep taking these pills to be awesome. Like, that's my show. Like, maybe if they sold the drugs to people.
Yeah.
And they didn't take it themselves, but then all these powerful people want the pills. That could be maybe like Breaking Bad, but like with NZT.
Yeah.
That'd be an interesting narrative.
That's definitely the direction you would think that it's going to go. And again, I think that's, as we were sort of saying, the appeal to this movie, that it sort of ends on this high note. It's a bit celebratory of this guy's success. And, you know, I think you get 2 or 3 seasons into, you know, a series with this. And it's definitely going full Breaking Bad, and we're getting the dark side of the NZT underworld.
And then Requiem for a Dream.
Yeah.
And you know what's too? I like how Limitless sort of gives expectations the middle finger when he's like, I'm gonna kill myself because they will torture me. Right. And he just goes, nah, I'll just find more drugs. Yeah. And then he wants to survive. I think Bradley Cooper earns his like winning ways at the end. He wins. Bradley Cooper wins, and I know he has a character, but I don't really think. I just think of this as, I know it's Eddie Morra. Yeah. But it's Bradley Cooper.
It's Bradley Cooper.
And he wins because he drinks a dead man's blood.
Yep.
So he's like, I'm not gonna kill myself. I'm like a cockroach. I want to survive. And then when he goes and drinks somebody's blood, you're okay. Like, I guess this dude's. It's going to be a fight to keep this going, and I admire that about him.
I still remember that. I remember that was one of those, like, watching it in the theater, like, the audience gasped as you realized what he was going to do, like, right before. I still remember that.
Oh, man, yeah, he just... Yeah, oh, my... Like, he's doing it! And I guess at that moment, you give him a pass, because the dude just drank a dead drug dealer's blood to get powerful again and murder henchmen. It's, I guess that he does, the desperation there is, you don't see this much in movies. It's, I'm telling you, it's a weird outlier, but I could not watch a series. That would be, I don't know, just listen to him out-talk people at dinner parties. I got Hannibal for that. That'd be way better. So, but no, it's, you said when you watched this that you wanted to go work out and like drive sports cars and stuff. Yeah, I think that movie sort of has that effect on you too, right? Never Back Down had that on you.
Never Back Down. I was like doing laps around the block after watching that for sure. And this maybe not quite as much, but you know, I was Never Back Down got me fired up for sure. I was doing pull-ups in the backyard after that one.
You know what was my ultimate movie? So when I was in college, I got up to 250 pounds, but I was like, I could bench 350, I could press 185, like I could curl 145, like I got real big and strong. But like one day playing basketball, it really hurt my knee, and I was like, I'm not gonna play sports. I'm not a tight end for a D1 school. I was like, I don't really need all this weight, so I was like, I'm gonna start losing some weight. And then one day I was like, I'm just gonna go watch Blade Trinity. It's out, so I'm gonna go see this. And then I saw Ryan Reynolds in it. Then I read his diet. So then I just went on his diet, and I modified it because his was all like build muscle, but I kind of
Okay.
modified it. I ended up losing 50 pounds
Whoa.
because of Blade Trinity. So that movie got me motivated to lose weight. So because you can't if you're not like, I don't know, like 250 was benching 350 was cool, but
Yeah. Yeah.
like having a bum knee was not. So then I don't know. That was like my motive. So Never Back Down, you did pull-ups. Blade Trinity,
Yeah.
I just started working out and got like I lost 50 pounds because of that movie.
That's incredible.
It's weird how movies do that though. Like I guess that's
Yeah.
just they get you pumped up, and I could see how this movie gets you pumped up, but there's no. Well, you know what's interesting about Limitless, right? You watch Never Back Down, and you can go work out and train MMA. You watch Men in Black, you can go get those Ray-Bans
Mm-hmm.
and then wear them around and be cool. You can watch a very like movies about writers and be like influenced, or movies about chess players and go play chess. But Limitless, what does it inspire people to do?
Yeah.
Like, does that like, so you're like, all right, I'm gonna go work out, but he doesn't really work out in that movie. So you watch it and you leave on this high, and you're like, I gotta go use my energy for something.
Yeah.
And then you're like, well, I don't want to do drugs. It's I don't know.
Yeah,
That's kind of interesting, right?
Yeah, I mean, it definitely, again, it sort of it walks that line between being sort of a celebration, a fantastical sort of story about this guy that, you know, flies pretty close to the sun, and you never really get that sort of, you get a little bit of it, but you don't really get the payoff of that cautionary tale of like,
Yeah.
you know, in the end, this guy probably, you know, it doesn't go so well for him. We just kind of cut out midway through the story. And again, I think that works here, though.
Yeah,
I think
it
that
does,
that's
yeah.
what makes
He drinks
what makes
blood.
the yeah, you know,
Yeah.
he certainly gets his hands dirty. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah, he does.
But you know, that's what makes this movie fun. I really think that that's what they're going for here, is that this is just it's a fun $40 million you know flick that obviously resonates with people. And yeah, I mean, it definitely resonated with me.
Yeah, it stuck with me. It was fun. There's no message to it, but you know that's what movies are good for
Yeah.
sometimes. Like you don't always need a message. Like I watched the movie Evolution. I love that movie. I don't know if you've seen it. David
I know.
Duchovny, Orlando Jones, Julianne Moore, Sean William Scott. It's one of the funniest movies that
Okay.
you could ever watch. But in it, nobody ever learns a lesson. Nobody becomes a better person. It's just a funny alien hangout picture, and that's what makes it rewatchable. And I think that's probably what makes Limitless rewatchable too, because
Yeah.
he's never down for long. He loses Abbie Cornish, and he gets with Abbie Cornish. Then he loses Abbie Cornish. At the end, she's
Yeah.
his back.
They are
And then
very
he
on
just-
again, off again, all
Yeah.
throughout.
But there's no like big breakups. There's no super down periods. He's not on the streets living his like worst life, and then he figures out he's better off without it, and then you get a training montage to get him better. This is just goes through, ends. You're happy. You get some good Black Keys music. Everyone associated the Black Keys with that. That was in the trailer too, I think. That was, and that song was huge at the time because they had what Howling for You
Yep.
and like those songs. So you had the legit soundtrack, the good trailer, the like Hot Star, and then you just like the like dude was on a tear. He was in Alias too. I remember watching Alias. I was a big fan of that show, and he was in it. And I'm like, man, this dude Bradley Cooper's come a long way.
Yeah. From Sack Lodge and Wedding Crashers as well.
Oh man, that was the ultimate bro right
Yeah.
there. But yeah, I think that's another reason why this movie works though, is it sometimes you just got to give viewers a Lincoln Lawyer. I know it's
Yeah.
based on a book, but you got to give them a good murder mystery.
Yeah.
Like tell a murder mystery in 2 hours. Sometimes you got to have a good dude becomes awesome on a experimental drug. It's cool. Like it doesn't need to go like I said again, Requiem for a Dream. I just like I really appreciate you doing this episode because it's fun to wrap my head around this movie, which I guess there's just not many like them, and it makes me kind of happy.
Yeah, I don't know, for whatever reason, it's one of those, and you and I seem to be on a similar wavelength with movies like A Never Back Down or this one, where, you know, it can be hard to sort of boil it down to its elements and figure out, like, what is it about this movie that appeals to me? What does it say about me that I love this movie so much? I'm not totally sure, but for whatever reason, you know, this is one that I own on DVD. I saw in theaters, and, you know, pull it out every once in a while and throw it on. And maybe you don't even get through the whole thing. Sit down and watch 40 minutes and enjoy it, and it's just a ton of fun, man.
you could watch this on TBS in between commercial. Like, so you come in, a commercial break comes on. It comes on for 20 minutes. You watch. You're like, awesome, commercial break. All right, I'm out.
Yeah.
But it's a good commercial break movie because there's a bunch of different areas to it. You can enjoy it all. And you know what's interesting too is he never gets his comeuppance and he remains successful and never back down. He's trained by Jaimin Hunsu to not use violence outside of school.
Right.
But at the end of it, he's like, listen, I got to go use violence because this dude's going to keep being a problem. And they're cool with it. And it's weird. I don't know. Maybe it's just different things speaking to us, but it's listen, I miss movies like this. I miss movies like My Big Fat Greek Wedding. I miss movies that can hold on into the box office, and they don't need $100 million to succeed in the opening weekend. But we're also living in a pandemic, and to keep theaters alive, I don't think it's movies like Limitless that will keep theaters alive. It's the big films. So you also have to be realistic. And listen, what Matt Damon said, I would 100% believe, because you look at Netflix, Hulu, Amazon, movies do get lost in the shuffle. And some very good movies get lost in the shuffle.
Yep.
But another neat thing is that we're getting so much content now that younger creators, more women are making movies. Like more, like people of color are making movies. Like we're getting more diverse films than ever before in history because we have more platforms, and that I love. And when people talk about movies, cinemas are dying, we had the same 12 directors really not making these like wide, diverse fields of movies. Like, so I like where we're at right now.
Mm-hmm.
And even though I agree with Matt Damon, you gotta, like, you look at James Gunn. He's like, my movie Slither bombed in theaters, but it became a success on DVD and on TV. He's like, Jaws is a classic because everyone watches it on TV.
Right.
So we just, the cream of the crop rises to the top. Hey, look at that rhyme. So it's you make a good movie, people will watch it, and there's just more people making movies now.
Yep.
So I love it. I like, people talk about that they're getting superhero fatigue or they're getting like fear of missing out because so much content's coming out. But this is like a movie reviewer's dream. I write about movies, and look how many are coming out. So it's a great time for me. So I think movies like Limitless are kind of coming to streaming. Mm-hmm. So have you seen Boss Level yet? It's like a Joe Carnahan. Oh, Joe Carnahan, Frank Grillo. It's a time loop movie where Frank Grillo is on a time loop every day killing people. So there's cool action pictures out there. There's Willy's Wonderland, which is, I don't know if I can recommend to many people. It's bonkers. But I don't know. I think there's a diverse amount of movies, but yeah, the days of Limitless coming into theaters and doing what it did.
Yeah.
It's rare, but I think we can still celebrate the ones that did happen. I don't know. Does that make sense?
100% it makes sense. I think you're exactly right. It's maybe the nature through which we maybe go to the movies or we see movies is changing and evolving, and it's the same thing with things like sports though too, right? Where like you're seeing these sort of paradigm shifts with technology and streaming and all the different cameras and whatever else that they have going on nowadays, and so the industry will adapt, I think, and I'm with you. I think that if there's a great sort of cult like classic like a Limitless out there, that people are going to find it, and there is still that word of mouth. I mean, more so than anything, the internet is the ultimate word of mouth, and we're going to hear about movies like this. If they're as good as something like this, and they're worth sitting down to watch, we're going to find them for sure.
And if you think about it too, when cinema started, the people who made the radio were really worried.
Yeah.
Well, I guess radio's, but it's still around. But I guess that's a bad example. When cable came around, when TVs were invented in the 50s, movie theaters lost their minds because they lost a lot of viewers. Like, movies are dead. Movies kept getting made. Yeah. And then when video rental places started doing better, like Blockbuster, when they kind of broke away from those chains, oh man, people aren't going to go to the movies as much because they can just rent them. Movies kept getting made. When Netflix started streaming, when Amazon Prime started streaming, movies are still being made. So it's like cinemas. People love going to cinemas and watching films. Like it's just something to do. I think it's ingrained in the culture, and and at the end of the day, it makes money, so they'll find a way to make it work. And people have always been afraid that movies will end, but you just gotta, like, that smart people adapt. So I mean, just adapt with the times. Like Denis Villeneuve, I love him, but Dune's coming out.
Can't wait. Cannot wait.
It's like a 3-hour movie that's about $200 million to make.
Yep.
Okay, this sounds crazy, but it's never going to be a theatrical success, right? It's going to be a beautiful blockbuster that everybody loves, but at the end of the day, they're like, yeah, I probably lost $100 million.
Yeah.
But we need them, but I don't know. I don't know what point that was, but
I'm here decrying.
You gotta be realistic.
I'm here decrying the lack of the $40 million, theatrical release. But I will say I'm super excited for $200 million Dune.
Yeah, dude, Denis Villeneuve, the dude's awesome. He made Blade Runner 2049 and Prisoners. Like, dude's awesome. And he started from movies like Enemy, like tiny films. Now he's blowing up. But yeah, sorry, I digress. I got on my soapbox.
Yeah.
That was my long way of saying, like, they'll keep making movies.
For sure. Yeah. No, there's lots of gems out there like a Limitless still coming out, for sure. There's no doubt.
And it's a good cable movie. Good cable movies keep getting played on cable. So you make a good movie and people keep watching it. Problem solved. But, all right, cool. Well, I just ranted a lot. I don't know. But I appreciate you joining me, man.
Hey, this was a blast. Thanks so much for doing this film with me. I really appreciate it. We'll talk to you again soon.
Prestige next.
Oh, which is interesting because Prestige, we're talking The Illusionist earlier. So those two movies came out the same year, did they not?
Yeah. They came 2011, Prestige.
So I really like Neil Berger. Just watched The Upside the other day and really enjoyed it as well.
Oh wait, Prestige was 2006. Oh yeah, so was The Illusionist. Okay,
yeah, sorry. Yeah. So the thing I will say is, I like The Illusionist as well. I'm a huge Norton guy, and like Neil Berger. I gotta say, in terms of the dueling magician movies of 2006, give me The Prestige all day long.
Because that's one of my favorite Nolan films. I love it. It's a good mystery. Yeah. It's fun. It's good to watch twice. I mean, it had a much larger budget. Like, Berger wasn't trying to make a Prestige.
Yeah, and it's one of those things. I mean, we could just start a Prestige podcast right now, but
it's one of those Deep Impact, Armageddon, Prestige, Volcano, Dante's Peak. I think Illusionist got lost a little bit in the shuffle.
A little bit.
Well, appreciate you joining me, dude.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, so for me, Mark Hoffmeyer, for Phil Briggs, this is Movie Stones of Flicks. We'll see you next week.